Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It certainly has been a while, hence why the last upload was a couple years back. Just been busy, but as you can probably guess by the title, today is a tutorial video and we will be making something like this, a very clean theme-based YouTube banner. You will need a couple things. Everything will be down in the description as a download link. Hope you don't mind, but it will be added, so you know, just one add link and that'll do. So these banners are very simple to make. It's not too complex, so it's very easy to follow along. You'll only need a couple things, as I said previously, and one of them being this banner template. So this will be down in the description. And yeah, so let's get started. What you would like to start with is to look up a wallpaper of some sort. If you can get the highest quality possible, that would be ideal. Now you can just go on Google and type in 4K wallpapers depending on what your channel theme is. So if it's like, I don't know, football theme or sports, then you'd have like 4K athlete or something, but that doesn't really matter too much because we will be blurring it out, as you'll see later on. So I've already got this picture here, just gonna drag that in, get it up to size, and we will rasterize that later. So you'll just want to send that to the bottom like that, and you need to position it up. So something like this would be nice. Obviously you can play around with it, duplicate it, and then just blend it if you need to, but I'd really like to just capture maybe 50% of this frame would be a split between the trees and the background. So foreground background split is very important. Right, so once that's done, rasterize the layer, and then we will actually size this up a little bit because when we blur it, the edges will show. So you want to go up to the top, go to filter, go to blur, and you'll need to choose lens blur. This one works best. Now my settings are here. You can see the radius is around 60 and threshold is all the way to the top, so you can play around with this however much you want. I tend to keep it up here just because it blocks out most of the detail, so it just has like a slight eeriness to the background, just like this. So it's out of focus just. Now what you'll need to do next is create another layer. We will use that later, and then highlight this one and press Ctrl U to get up the hue and saturation. Now we just want to darken this a little bit, not too much, so maybe around 20-29. There we go, that should be fine. And right, so we'll go back to this. You can see that there is a theme and a colour going on. So this one I recently designed is a engineering sort of theme, so I've chosen a simple colour scheme. And what I'm going to do for here is, because it's a forest theme, we're going to do this and go to the colour picker and find a forest green colour. It'd be nice to find something that equally matches it. Of course I could just go like that, no, that doesn't really help at all. So we'll go into here, this, more of like a dark sage green. Press G, get your bucket tool and just fill that like that. Now we will need to go down to the fill, put the fill to around 80 and the opacity down, and just kind of play around with some of these options. Now you're really looking for a darker theme, so I believe if you go soft light for this, this tends to work. Yes, something like this would be fine. It does not have to be perfect, but this is where you can play around with it, and we'll come and touch this up later on. So next, go to the text, very important, just zoom in a bit, and the font type that I use for the majority of these templates is up here, called American Captain. There will be a link to this in the description as well, so just go on here and it should automatically be defaulted to caps lock, but if not, just hit the caps lock and type in the channel name of your choice, whatever that might be. I'm going to go with Carbon Effects, hence the channel name. And it's important to get the sizing correct. You don't want it to be too bulky and too large, otherwise it takes up too much of the screen and doesn't really show a presentation of what's in the background. So when you're happy with the size of it, make that a little bit smaller. Just come out of that, you can press enter, and the key element to this is to split up the colour. So I will be putting this to white, just like that, and you can see already that it makes a very, very big difference just by splitting up the colour and having a change of palette. Now you want a slogan or subtitle. Let's just put graphics design, just like that, and the same applies, but you would want to change it up a bit this time. So instead of this side being white, you'll leave that as green and then put this to white, so just having like opposites, and then size that down. Like so. You can make this as big or as small as you want. I will make it be a little bit bigger, something like that. So again, you will need to play around with this. It's just more of like a finding, you know, the sweet spot. So we're nearly done. Last thing to do is to duplicate the name. So if you press Ctrl J on the that's the wrong layer. Press Ctrl J on the layer that you want to duplicate, and then just enlarge that. Now this will go in the background, but we will make this all one solid colour. Go to Colour Picker and then go to the wheel tool like that, and send that to the back, just like this. Now this will go under the layers like that. So if we go back to this one just for referral, you can see that it has a drop shadow and a simple effect like that. There we go. Yeah, so nothing really changes, it's just more to match the background. So we can come back and just play around with this a little bit. Maybe change this colour, make it a little bit darker. Just like that. Maybe eliminate that. Really just make it darker. I think that's what we need to go with. Okay, yeah, something like this would work. Really just play around with it until you feel like you found the right sort of middle ground for it. Go ahead and match the colour like so. So if we just remember that as overlay, down to 80, just so I can match the colour like that. Yep. There we go. Okay, now change that back. Overlay. And now we will select this. Choose the colour that we have, just like that. There we go. So already that's looking much better. Now there are a couple options you can opt in for, so I will just size this up first, make sure that everything's aligned.
He wants to go on testing more bombs.
Like this, because it needs to be in the centre. That's the whole premise of this. And it's looking very similar to this. So the last thing, if you couldn't already notice, is the drop shadow. There will be a drop shadow layer and maybe a satin layer on all of the text. So we'll start with the background, go to the drop shadow, kind of mess around with it, leave the opacity around 70-75. The distance, spread and size should all be fairly low. You don't want it looking too crazy and over exaggerated, and you don't want the distance obviously being all the way down here, otherwise it just does not look good at all. So it just wants to be a slight distance of maybe around 10 to 20 is what I would go for. So I'm going to leave it at that. You can change the angle if you want, but that's not necessary. Lastly, again, if you want to add a satin, you can do, or a bevel emboss, but you would need to mess around with that just to get the correct setting. So go ahead and do that for the rest of the text layers, like this. We've done that one. There we go. And already you can see that it's looking, clean. It's looking almost done. Again, you can go ahead and change the colours if you need to. Right, the very last thing, which is optional of course, is go to the GFX pack, whatever one you have, preferably one that has social media icons. The download link to this pack is a very old one, I know. I will be updating one and releasing a pack very soon. Will contain the majority of the essentials for most graphics design, so you'll download that in the description, and there will be an area where you can get some icons. Now, I don't know whatever social media platforms you guys have. There's quite a lot here, as you can tell. I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Yeah, so just choose an icon. I don't know, we'll go Spotify and Steam. Just like that. Copy them over or drag them over, and then just paste them in like this. Now, it is totally dependent where you can put them. You can place them down here, under here, or out in the way. What I'm going to do is just place them right under the text. So you've got these layers. I'm going to create a new layer, switch this over, make a nice overlay, and duplicate that twice, just because I believe the actual colour of these are slightly off, so it's more like a grey or a washed white, and if you do it this way then it stops it from being pixelized when you go to size them up. So yeah, that looks about right. Highlight the two, change the size and mess around with them to your fancy, like this. Let's see what that's looking like. Nah, still way too big. So yeah, the majority of the time you are just playing around with things to get the right size, and that is the fun of graphics design. And place it maybe here. Do the same. And like that. So I'm going to bring them in a little bit. Just like this. And there we have it. So we have a completed, very, very simple banner. And the very last thing that you can do, which is, again, optional, is to get the borders like this. So if you have it on a different display, say you're watching YouTube on your TV, you can see these bits out here, which are faded. So go into here, and you'll need to highlight these, duplicate them. Sorry, Control J, and then you'll want to group them by doing Control G. And now, just highlight the two and just enlarge them like so. So do this. Now, if you go and drag it all the way to the top, like so, and convert to smart object, this allows you to create a clipping mask because you're not going to need to edit this again. Rasterize, and then create clipping mask like so. And then you can go to your hue and saturation and just lower the brightness like so. And there you have it. It's a very well and customized picture. Now of course you can mess around with this some more if you need to, but I've already created it as a smart object, so it's uneditable. And then just go ahead and press Ctrl E. So yeah, there we go. That is how to make a very, very simple and clean theme YouTube banner. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see next or whatever feedback there is. And do check out the download links in the description below so you can have these files. And I'll also leave a link to this one specifically. They're all open source, so you guys can just play around with it and find the right combination. So yeah, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.